Oh, gotcha.
Okay,
I didn't.
I'm gonna cut that out. I think it was a funny joke.
It was.
But
I'm sorry.
You being awkward ruined it for me.
It went over my head. I'm sorry. That was. I mean, in retrospect, it was a good joke.
Welcome to another episode of the Nerd You're Looking For podcast, a weekly nerd culture podcast that discusses the culture through various segments. My name, of course, is Patrick Kuhn, alongside my co-host, as always, that Tyler Hunt. How's it going, man?
It's going really good, dude. It feels like, I don't know why, but it feels like it's been a while.
I know. It's weird because, I mean, we literally just did this last week.
Yeah.
But I was thinking the same thing. We haven't really talked much this week, so maybe that has a lot to do with it. I've been super busy trying to do as much stand-up as I could leading up until this Friday because I had my comedy contest show in Lagodi last night, and I'm super exhausted because I had to work in the morning and I didn't get home until late last night, and it was kind of a bust of a show. Like, it didn't go as well as I wanted it to. So we just haven't talked a ton throughout the week.
Was there a good turnout?
It was decent. I mean, Lagodi's kind of not
shithole?
Yeah. In case we had some Lagodi listeners, I was going to be a little bit more PC, but we're never PC, so I don't know why I decided to start now. But yeah, it's a shithole. I mean, the bar was, it was kind of a hole in the wall, but it kind of had that nice, like that's what it was going for. The guy was cool that owns it. He also bartends, and he was really cool. The food was good. But I mean, it's a little town, and there was probably, including comics, there was probably 50 to 60 people in this little bar. So I mean, it was a decent turnout. It was a weird show. Like, I was kind of in a weird place. Like, I kind of have to give you a little bit of backstory. My ex-girlfriend Heather.
Yeah, you definitely say her name.
Yeah, well, I didn't say her last name. Summers, her last name is Summers. It ended like really horribly. Like, we're still Facebook friends or whatever, and she hasn't done it in a long time, but we used to chit chat every once in a while on Facebook. I mean, it didn't end well, but whatever. She's from Lagodi, and it never occurred to me because I'm happily married. Like, I don't even think about her. She wasn't there, but like a group of her friends were there, and they were super awkward about it. And it was pissing me off as the night went on. And like, they were just being weird the entire night. And then I was just like, angry, and then they just handed me the microphone and I had to tell jokes, and it didn't go as well as I wanted it to. Like, I did a show on Tuesday and there wasn't very many people, but it like went well because I've been doing it for a while, so I'm pretty comfortable being up there. And I was just like in a weird space, and I just don't think that I did very well. I mean, I got my laughs or whatever, but I didn't move on. And if I felt better about my set, I wouldn't have been as angry, but I was pretty mad when I was driving home. Yeah. Plus, I didn't get home until late, and I had to work early in the morning, so that was a bummer.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear all that.
And I kind of started off the show in a weird place. I mean, it was fun hanging out with a couple of guys because I'd done a show with a few of the guys in Bloomington, and they were cool guys, and I really enjoyed hanging out with them, and it was fun kind of just riffing with them. But I was just in a weird place, and it was probably one of my worst shows I've had in a while.
Yeah, sorry about that, dude. So when's your next one?
Well, I booked a show in the end of July. So July, I think 28th at the Boca Lounge, which is the place that I did a show on a Tuesday. Okay. So hopefully it's kind of my turf, my home turf. I've done shows at the Boca Lounge before. So hopefully I'm a little bit in a better place than I was in Lagodi. And then I have I'm opening for a touring comedian, and that is in August 22nd. I'll probably hit a couple open mics from now until then, but those are my two like booked shows that I have coming up.
Sweet.
All right, so we start off each episode by checking in with each other. We call it what we're into. So Tyler, what are you into this week?
I've been getting into an HBO show.
Okay.
I think you probably know where this is going. Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah.
So Flight of the
Have you not watched it before?
Well, I got a story about that. Speaking of sour grapes and people from our past that we hate, in college, I had a roommate that was a total twat, and it was a situation where
Is it Jake?
it's not Jake.
Yeah, I'm kidding. If you're listening, I love you. You're awesome.
No, a different roommate. He was like the kind of guy that he was seeing a girl, and she basically lived with us, and they ran the
That's
apartment.
unfortunate.
They tried to turn Jake and I, which Jake is one of my best friends. They kind of turned us against each other for a little bit. Long story short, really didn't like the guy, really despised his cunt girlfriend. And I don't throw that word around on the podcast lightly. So they were super into Flight of the Conchords. So I would always kind of watch it out of the corner of my eye, and I learned to just associate it with them and hate it because they loved it so much. And I really regret that because Brittany, my wife, has really gotten into it over the last couple of years. She loves the show and loves their music. And I just kind of never gave it a shot until I was kind of being dragged to a Flight of the Conchords concert that I went to a couple days ago. And I was like, well, if I'm going to go see this concert, I might as well like catch up on the show and their music and know what I'm getting myself into. And so I started watching the show and I love it. I mean, it's really, really funny stuff. The guys are genius. Their music's great. And then the concert was just awesome. It was a great experience. So the subtle humor, I think, is what does it for me. Like on the show, especially just their banter back and forth is kind of dry. And the dryness for those two guys, Jermaine and Brett, are perfect. Their characters are clueless, but it's done brilliantly. Like you don't think they're stupid. You just think they're like naive New Zealanders in America and the Big Apple and that kind of stuff. So the show is fantastic. I'm almost halfway on season 2, so I'm not quite done. What was kind of jarring was going from season 1 to season 2. I don't know if you sat down and watched them, but
yeah, I watched it when it aired.
The production value of season 2 is so much better than season 1. It almost took me by surprise.
From what I understand, they threw like a shit ton of money at them to do another season, and they just didn't want to.
I think that it ending after season 2 was definitely their choice, not HBO's choice.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's gone on record.
Oh yeah, I would imagine that would definitely be the case. But yeah, I saw them Thursday night in Nashville. It was at the Ascension Amphitheater, which is a really awesome venue. It's like an outside amphitheater with like a lawn seating.
I saw the pictures.
It's
my
cool
invite got lost in the mail. Apparently,
I didn't even know you liked Flight of the Conchords, to be honest.
Yeah, man.
But it's like right in downtown Nashville, so it was like a really cool atmosphere. And of course, those guys are great, and their banter back and forth on stage was great. And then they had really hilarious banter with the audience. I wouldn't say they got heckled, but there were drunk people yelling out songs they wanted them to play, and the way they handled it was great. And there was this running joke through the show about Louis C.K. Jermaine said at the beginning of the show something about you guys came here instead of the Louis C.K. show, and I'm like, oh shit, is Louis C.K. playing in Nashville tonight? And I looked it up afterwards, and he wasn't. So I'm not really quite sure where all that came from, but you know, he said, I just got a text and the Louis C.K. audience is really behaving themselves. and just that kind of stuff. It was a running joke throughout the show. So if you haven't seen these guys live, I really suggest you do it. They don't tour very often. I think they said this is their first time touring in 3 years.
Yeah, it seems weird because they're both kind of busy doing their own thing. I know he did.
Sure.
He did the Muppets movie. I know he did the first. Oh, he did the second one. I didn't know he did the second one. And of course, Jermaine is doing the movies and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I was surprised. I actually, literally, when I saw the picture, because I had no idea you were going, my first thought, and this should just tell you what kind of asshole friend that I am. Instead of being happy for you, I saw the picture. I was like, that motherfucker. I was like, he did not invite me. I would love to go see them.
Yeah, I wish I knew you liked him. I would have shot you an invite. It was just kind of one of those things that Brittany got off the ground, and I felt like at the start of it, at least, I was just kind of tagging along with her sister, and her sister's boyfriend. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I wish that they were more of a constant band, like I was saying. I wish they didn't have to take breaks and stuff, but they're, like you said, busy guys.
For sure.
Big careers. So it's kind of cool that they're doing a summer tour, and they had a couple new songs. Hopefully one day they'll manage to get their movie off the ground that they've talked about for so long, because they're great. They're really fun to watch.
For sure.
All right, man. What are you into?
Well, I mean, of course, I'm still into Pokemon Go. That's just a fucking phenomenon, man. I can't believe it is what it is. Like, I joked about how Lagoti's kind of a shithole, and the bar that we went to, even though it was kind of a hole in the wall, that was kind of its charm, though. So, like I said, I had nothing against that, but it was weird because Pokemon Go is so big right now. Like, it was basically a biker's bar.
Yeah.
And these like huge, like literally like stereotypical bikers like walked in. They had the leather vests and the thumb rings and all. I mean, crazy. And they were fucking talking about Pokemon Go. Like it was nuts. But when I talked about it last week, I hadn't got to play it very much because they had such problems with the servers. Now they've updated it. It's still not great, but it's gotten better. I just love the community aspect of it. Just like I said, people everywhere, all walks of life are playing this game, and it's a lot of fun. I'm actually talking to my neighbors now, which is weird. Like I'm actually like walking around my neighborhood, and like people are stopping me, asking me like which ones I've caught. Have I caught any cool ones around here and stuff like this? So it's really cool. I like the idea, especially in Evansville, which always makes that like 10 most obese cities in the world lists. We never make good lists.
No,
ever.
No, never once.
So it's kind of nice to see people out walking around that I know normally wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So obviously it's great. As a game, it definitely needs some work, but you're not going to put out a finished product. Obviously, with a game like this, you kind of want to build on it so people don't get bored or complacent or whatever. So obviously, I'm still into that, but just for sake of conversations, as I talked about that last week, I will bring up a movie that I watched. I need to start getting better about going to see movies at Movie Pass.
Yeah.
Pay it for $30 a month. And until they take it away from me, I should probably start using it a little bit more. So last week I went and saw Independence Day Resurgence. Excuse me.
Oh, no.
I actually kind of went back and forth because I wanted to see a movie, but there's nothing really like out that I feel like I need to see. The BFG, obviously Spielberg makes great movies, so I was kind of interested in that, even though I've never read the book. But it was kind of getting late one night when I decided I was going to go see a movie, and they were both playing at the same time. So it was I was going to see either one of them. And I was just like, I'm kind of tired. I want something that I don't necessarily need to pay attention to, that I can kind of shut my brain off and just kind of sit there and enjoy. I wouldn't say necessarily that Independence Day, the original, is a guilty pleasure because I don't really feel embarrassed that I liked it. I mean, I was like 7 years old when it came out, and so I didn't know like it wasn't the best movie. It was just really cool. I mean, Roland Emmerich makes cool looking movies. He obviously knows what to do behind the camera. He just doesn't know what to do with the computer as far as dialogue and story structure and that sort of thing. This movie, unfortunately, I don't want to say that it's a bad movie because there was nothing glaringly bad about it. Like it wasn't Transformers Age of Extinction that just beat you over the head with how fucking stupid and bad movie that is. But I don't think it necessarily justifies 20 years kind of in the making sort of movie. Like Independence Day could have just kind of faded away. It had already kind of faded away. I mean, it's a fun movie. It made a lot of money, but it is what it is. It's the stereotypical like blockbuster popcorn movie. It made a ton of money, but it's not like Jurassic Park was.
Yeah.
Where I think they saw how much Jurassic World made and how big like blockbuster with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Cinematic Universe. It makes a ton of money. Like popular franchises are obviously really popular right now and it'll make a lot of money, and everybody's rebooting and kind of trying to start over. And so I understand why they made this movie. It just nothing about it. There's nothing really bad about it, but nothing really stands out about it. There was nothing really good about it either. Like Independence Day at least was fun. This movie I didn't feel like was that much fun. Some of the characters, like they had some weird callbacks. Like Will Smith isn't in it, but they kind of quickly tell you why, and I don't think that was necessary. And there's a character that's his son, but that character could either not have been in the movie at all and it wouldn't have mattered, or he couldn't have not been his son and it wouldn't have mattered. Like he doesn't even play the Will Smith type of character, like the John McClane kind of action star that cracks jokes. That's pretty much Will Smith's character in the first Independence Day. That's really kind of the role that Liam Hemsworth.
That would have made for probably a better movie.
Would have made for a better movie because Liam Hemsworth, I almost said it again, god damn it, he's not a good actor and he doesn't do that character well. Like Will Smith is kind of goofy in the original Independence Day, but it works in that movie. You kind of need that because it is silly, but it's fun. His character's not even fun in this movie. Like none of the jokes really landed for me. It's just, I just want this movie to go away. Like,
Yeah.
it won't make my like worst of list or anything for 2016. It'll just be easily forgotten. Like, this will be the last time that I talk about Independence Day resurgence, or probably ever even think about it again. It just is very, very forgettable. I wouldn't suggest wasting your money on it.
The idea for this movie should have just probably died when Will Smith said he wasn't going to come back for it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then I know you kind of tiptoed around it, but there were articles out about it, so I'm just going to say it. Like, his character dies, right?
Yes.
Dead. So
in like a weird like training thing.
So
in between the two movies,
when Will Smith found out they were killing off his character because he wasn't coming back, he was quoted as saying something like he was really sad about that. It's like, well, you're not too fucking sad about it. You didn't come back for the movie.
Yeah.
But I don't have a soft spot for the first Independence Day like you seem to. I think that movie is only iconic because of the scene with the White House getting blown up, obviously.
Yeah.
That's all I knew about that movie before I eventually saw it. And I didn't see it back in the 90s. I saw it later on DVD. So that's probably why I don't have a soft spot for it. But again, just a completely unnecessary sequel. And I don't know what the box office is for this movie, but I can't imagine that it's been profitable.
Underperforming. I know that.
I would imagine so. Like, I haven't heard anybody say anything positive about this movie.
It's easily forgettable.
Well, then in that case, let's move on and let it slip into the
That was
ether.
terrible. That was really, really bad.
Slip into the ether.
All right. So we're just going to move on from that terrible segue to comics, our next segment. Tyler and I read a ton of comics each week, and we like to spotlight one or two. So what'd you read this week? Please don't say Civil War, because that's what I'm going to talk about.
I almost wanted to read it and talk about it, but I'm like, I think Pat will have it.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially since something big happens in it. But I'm going to talk about Green Lanterns 2.
Okay, cool.
So I read a lot of comics this week. I've been trying to get through my giant stack. And honestly, whenever I get so behind like I have been, and I'm getting caught up now, but I'm usually honestly looking for stuff to weed out. It's just like, all right, I got like 3 issues of this I haven't read. Obviously, I'm not that interested in it. So let's get caught up, and hopefully it's not that great and I can cut it out. And that's exactly what I went into Green Lanterns hoping for. I was like, this rebirth stuff's great, but let's get something out of here. And that's not what I got. I actually really, really liked Green Lanterns 1 and 2. I read them both this week, but I'm going to talk mostly about 2. It's almost like a rookie cop comic.
Okay.
Just kind of set in the Green Lantern universe. So the characters are Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz. I don't know if you're familiar, but they're basically, They both have Green Lantern rings now.
Okay.
And they're kind of overseeing Earth while Hal Jordan's fucking off in space or somewhere or something. They're basically the protectors of Earth, and they have almost no idea what they're doing, which doesn't seem like a great idea on the Green Lantern's part, but that's kind of where we're at with it. So some of it's a little hard to follow because I'm not very familiar with Green Lantern backstory.
Yeah, me either.
The main antagonists for this are the Red Lanterns, and I know that Red is Rage, but that's about all I know. So in this issue, like I said, with the Red Lanterns being the antagonist, basically they're unleashing something on Earth, which is turning people in various places into not zombies, but almost like the crazies.
Okay.
Where they can't really control themselves, and they're obviously rage, which is what the Red Lanterns are known for. So the Green Lanterns, Jessica and Simon, are trying to figure out how to stop that and kind of coming to terms with their powers. So it's kind of cool to watch those two characters not only do that, discover their powers and what they can do with the rings, but also discover how they're going to work together because they're polar opposites. Sure. What really ended up selling me on this comic was the Jessica Cruz character. Apparently she suffers from anxiety really bad, and she was a shut-in for a few years, and she's not quite sure why the Green Lantern ring chose her, because she's not brave. She doesn't think that she can overcome fear. And she doesn't think that she has willpower, so she's not sure why she has the ring. So I'm really excited to watch her grow as a character and realize her potential as a Green Lantern, which is that was
kind of what the mantle was going with that comic book that we both really liked.
Yeah, for sure.
It was very Green Lantern-esque.
Yeah,
but that was kind of the idea, was that it picked you. You kind of wondered, like, obviously all these characters are flawed, so they kind of have they have to think of themselves like, why me, sort of thing.
Oh,
so
sure.
I always like that idea of doubting yourself and kind of being a flawed character, because I think those are the most interesting characters. That being said, do you read The Flash?
Yes, I do.
I'm really digging the Flash. I actually almost talked about it, but I hadn't had time to read number 2 yet.
I haven't read number 2 yet either, but I really liked the Rebirth issue.
And number 1 was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was.
I
great.
really liked it. It reminded me a lot of one of the reasons why I fell in love with Spider-Man, because he is that vulnerable superhero that has to like juggle a lot of things in his life.
Yeah.
Like early when I fell in love with him, it's school, his job, Mary Jane, and being Spider-Man.
Yep.
He had to juggle all of those things. Now, obviously, he runs Parker's Industries, so there's other things to juggle. He kind of traded up with school and then his job. And the Flash is very similar. He has personal relationships, obviously, and being the Flash, and then being at work, being crime scene investigator, and kind of doing good, being the Flash, plus trying to solve these crimes, and the whole thing with his dad. And so I appreciated that because it reminded me a lot of the reasons why I fell in love with Spider-Man to begin with. So I'm really digging it despite the time travel-esque quality of the Flash, which of course I've mentioned many times. I am not a fan of that time travel, that genre. So I'm really digging it, but I was gonna plan on talking on about it, but like I said, I didn't get a chance to read number 2 yet.
Yeah, sweet, man. So
I am going to talk about Civil War number 2, issue 3. Yeah, so I'm a huge Marvel fan. Obviously, we've talked about it on plenty of issues or plenty of episodes. I am super bummed because I do not like Civil War 2 pretty much at all.
Really?
Like the first issue I really enjoyed. The first issue built up really well, and then of course there's a big character that dies. I'm not going to spoil it in just case anybody hasn't read it yet, but it kind of sent shockwaves through the Marvel universe. Like the way they built up to it and the kind of the climax didn't feel like a headline kind of clickbait sort of thing just to sell comic books. Like it felt like a natural progression to where the story was going. Very similar to something that happens in Civil War, Captain America Civil War. There's a reason why I used to read 2 Inhuman books and I no longer read Inhuman books because I just don't think the character's all that interesting. I really enjoyed Black Bolt as a character, but then in Uncanny Inhumans made him like this really weird like superhero club owner weird character, and I just didn't dig that at all. So I dropped that book. I also dropped All New Inhumans just because I don't think the characters themselves are very interesting. I don't really care about the established Inhumans, so why would I care about brand new Inhumans? The reason I bring that up is because an Inhuman kind of is the catalyst for the Civil War too, and I just don't like him. Like I don't like time travel, and obviously it's not necessarily time travel per se, but he can see the future. That's his power as being an Inhuman. That's his power, and I just don't like it. I don't like the idea of being able to like change the future. I don't think that's fun. Like I don't think that's an interesting. Not necessarily fun was probably a bad word, but I don't think it's an interesting concept. I really enjoyed Civil War 1. I thought that was kind of a logical step for superheroes, like an argument that superheroes would have. I just think this is forced, this particular event. I hate it as a huge Marvel fan to hate one of these big events because I love when they happen, and they happen not like super frequently. I mean, you might get 1 or 2 a year. And so the fact that not only do you get this big event, but it's also based on this other event that was awesome, it bums me out. And they killed off another character in this issue, in issue 3.
Yeah.
That, I mean, there's no way that this character, like I could see why in issue 1 that character could, it's a big enough character where it kind of works, that you kill him off and you kind of get the shock value of that. And I could see that character being gone for a while. There's no way that the character they kill off in issue 3 is going to be gone for very much longer.
Well,
I mean, they have another character that stepped in for that character. And so I'm being so vague because I don't obviously want to give anything away, but they basically killed off this particular superhero's alter ego per se.
Yeah.
And so there's no way that they're going to keep that.
I mean, I think that characters dying in comics as a big plot point is almost tired because we know that the character you're talking about will eventually come back. We know that the characters that die in issue 1 of Civil War 2 will eventually come back.
Well, I don't know that.
I mean,
I don't think he's necessarily a big enough character. I think you could kill him off and the Marvel universe would be just fine.
The only character in the Marvel universe that stayed dead is like Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to come back. I won't say his name, but at some point, he will come back. It's just inevitable with comic books. So I don't know. I could see what you're saying there. I think that this is kind of
they already went to that well in issue 1, and then to do it again in issue 3, and issue 2, which I haven't even mentioned, was not good either. So it was kind of boring. Like I didn't dig it at all. So the fact that you kind of sandwiched these two of big like clickbait kind of things in between a really bad issue, just it didn't. I really enjoyed issue 1 actually. I thought that was a natural progression, and then issue 2 was kind of boring as shit, and then issue 3 tried to do it again, and I'm just like, nah, this is not working for me at all. And then of course the Inhuman stuff I don't like at all. So
yeah, I don't know. I could see where you're coming from. I think that this is kind of like Secret Wars last year though, where I really disliked it and you liked it, and so far I don't really have a problem with Civil War 2. I definitely would agree with some of the points you have, but I don't have the hatred for the Inhumans or the time travel aspect, so I don't necessarily click with you there. But
I will say that we don't always get to see Matt Murdock in the courtroom very often, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so our next segment is just plainly called Nerd News. Tyler compiles all the great nerd news headlines, and we just talk about it. So what do you got this week?
So kind of a nice little segue. The first thing I want to talk about is Marvel Now.
Okay, cool.
Which is going to be kind of spinning out this fall from what I'm assuming is going to be the end of Civil War 2. They basically announced all of the new titles or the new numberings that are going to happen this fall. And the big ones that stood out to me was that Jessica Jones was getting a new series, obviously probably on the heels of the TV show. And then Thanos is also getting a new series as well. Just going through this, what really stands out to me, though, titles receiving a relaunch or renumbering. The very first one, Amazing Spider-Man. How many times can you renumber that shit, man?
Oh, well, they have to do it after Dead No More.
Yeah, I mean, God, still, I guess it seems like that thing gets renumbered every other year.
I mean, it seems like every year.
Yeah, I don't know.
After they've done it, this will be the third time since Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy to me. But
oh yeah, for sure.
And then there's some cool titles coming out, which I'm excited for. And there are a lot of titles that are going to continue with their current numbering, like Black Panther, which I know you're enjoying. I really like the Mighty Thor, and that's going to continue. I was a little nervous because they announced a new Thor book as well. It was the Unworthy Thor, which is going to follow Thor Odinson and kind of his quest to, I guess, be worthy again or some shit. I find the Jane Foster Thor more interesting than he ever was personally. But yeah, there's some cool stuff coming out this fall, but it's a little bit sad too that they just keep renumbering things.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wonder how the Jessica Jones title is going to be, because like you mentioned, the show was super successful, but the show is really dark and kind of beats you over the head with the depressingness of the show.
Yeah, for sure.
But her in the comic book world, like what I know of her right now is Power Man and Iron Fist, which is a really fun book.
For sure.
So the show has a completely different tone than Jessica Jones in the comic book universe right now. So I wonder if you can't really do Power Man and Iron Fist and have Jessica Jones in that book and then plan on doing like a super depressing Jessica Jones book.
Yeah.
That just doesn't seem like it would. Yeah, that doesn't seem like it would click.
I don't know that there's place in Marvel right now for a super depressing book either. Like Marvel's, all these titles are just kind of fun despite like all the death in Civil War 2. Like I don't know. It doesn't really seem like it would fit very well.
No, I just don't think that you can have two Jessica Jones, one that's cracking jokes with Power Man and then having a super depressing one like in the Netflix series.
For sure. So we'll see what they do with that. I know we already talked about it, but I have it as a headline already, so I'm going to stick with it. Pokemon Go is the biggest mobile game in the history of mobile games. There's 21 million active users. The closest to that was Candy Crush with 20 million users, which blows my fucking mind that so many people play Candy Crush. But yeah, just to emphasize what you were saying earlier.
There's still 20 million people that play Candy Crush.
According to the article I read. I don't know how. I don't know who's sitting there playing Candy Crush.
Well, I know my wife still plays it.
I think, well, my wife doesn't play it anymore. So
she switched to Cookie Jam, which is literally the exact same game.
No, she plays some Frozen game, which is weird. I know it's like Candy Crush, but with Frozen character. I don't know. She plays it every night. I just stay out of it.
All right, good to know.
Going from, I mean, do you have anything? We kind of already talked about it earlier. I'm playing it as well. I definitely agree with what you said earlier about it. It's really cool to see this community come together. Everybody at work's talking about it. Kind of also cool to see people out doing it. Like I drove past the riverfront in Evansville to get here today, and there were so many people just walking, and you could tell they were playing Pokemon Go because they got their phone in their hands, and it's just kind of cool to see. I don't know. I really hate that people are bitching about it on Facebook because
that's super annoying.
It literally does not impact you if you don't want to play it.
Yeah, it's just people being bitter about having to see people like in their news feed, like just talking about Pokemon. It's the same. Like you're allowed to like something. Like you're allowed to. It's my fucking Facebook. If I want to talk about Pokemon Go, then don't fucking follow me.
Yeah, it's the same people that are bitching about it are the people that are expressing their dumb political views and their opinions on everything. And then they're also going to toss in the Pokemon Go hatred. And I don't get that. I'd rather see my timeline full of people talking about Pokemon than one person talking about politics or religion.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Something that you should probably keep private.
What irritated me the most about it was people that post like that stupid, what is it? What movie is it from? Goodfellas?
Oh, yeah. That meme is awful.
Yeah, where because I'm not 10 and I have shit to do. Fuck you. I run world famous podcast. YouTube channel with co-run, excuse me. I run a YouTube channel that has 25 subscribers. I do stand-up. I have a 40-hour-a-week job, and I still have time to play fucking Pokemon Go. Just because you don't manage your time well doesn't mean that you should crush my awesome time playing Pokemon Go. Because you're a fucking dick. That's all you are. You're a bitter dick.
For somebody to say they don't have free time is a bit of a stretch, especially some of the people I see posting that I know are not well employed.
Yeah.
So to tell me you don't have downtime is ridiculous. Like you said, we find time to record this podcast every week. You work 40 hours a week. I work a lot of hours every week, and we both are finding time to enjoy ourselves with this.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I'm not level 20 or anything. Yeah, but I find time to do it.
Who are we hurting by going out and walking around with this game?
Exactly. You're just a bitter person.
Yep.
So go fuck yourself.
Yep.
And maybe kill yourself.
All right. On to another mobile game that just came out. I didn't even realize this was coming out. Batman Arkham Underworld was released. I don't think that this game is going to take off. They picked a really poor time to choose. As much as I love Batman.
You catch Batmans?
As much as I love Batman and I love the Arkham universe, like I'm not interested in this game right now because I'd rather play Pokemon Go. It sounds more fun to me. Basically, the gist of it is you play as criminals in the Arkham universe and you employ like Batman's villains and stuff to take over areas. And at first you kind of deal with the Gotham Police Department, but as you rise in power, you encounter Batman. So it's kind of a cool concept, but I just can't imagine that this game's going to get any type of traffic because their core audience is busy with Pokemon and aren't over that phenomenon yet.
Maybe it's just me, but like I don't want to play like a super complicated game on my phone. Like I have an Xbox. I love playing video games, obviously, but I want something fairly easy. Like Pokemon, it has some strategy and there's a lot of aspects to it, like with the lucky eggs and the incense and the Pokestops and stuff like that. So it is complicated. There's a lot of aspects to it, but it's easy to play. Like you can easily play it on your phone. Like I don't like those games. Like I love playing Madden, but I don't necessarily play Madden Mobile because I don't want to play Madden on my phone. I want to play Madden on my Xbox when I have time to sit down and actually play it. So I don't really get, like, if I want to play Batman Arkham, I'll just play Arkham, like the game on the Xbox. So I never really got into that kind of stuff. I know there's a Ninja Turtles game that's like that sort of, and I heard that it's really cool, but I play a lot of games, so it's going to sound silly for me to say it looks super complicated, but for a mobile game, it looks like it's way too complicated.
Yeah, I didn't look a ton into it, to be honest, because I don't have any interest in it right now. But yeah, I don't think that it's going to take off like they want it to.
For sure.
All right, last thing is, again, video game related, actually. Nintendo is releasing an NES this fall for $50 to $60, and it has 30 built-in Nintendo games, and it connects to your TV through an HDMI cable. And
I know what I'm getting for Christmas.
yeah, dude, it sounds awesome. There's the 30 games in there. Like, I'm not going to obviously read through all 30 of them, but there's some really great titles like Castlevania 1 and 2, Donkey Kong Jr., Dr. Mario, Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3, Metroid, Mega Man, 2 Zelda games, like just so much stuff, man. Final Fantasy, Jesus, like this is why they haven't done this before is beyond me.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, man. I'm really super excited.
Yeah, for sure, dude. They're gonna.
Did you see that article that I posted? I don't know if I posted it. Yeah, I did post it to our Facebook where they have the Game Boy attachment for your smartphone.
Yeah, yeah.
That looks fucking awesome too.
Yeah, I hope that takes off. Which I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
All right, man. That is all I have for nerd news.
All right. So our next segment is kind of just our main topic. It changes from episode to episode. We're in the midst of summer movie season. So, of course, we're going to be reviewing another movie. We're going to be reviewing Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters reboot. This is currently at 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is one of my movies, which at this point, now that Star Trek is projecting to be probably high 80s, low 90s.
I was hoping you hadn't seen that so I could break the news to you.
Yeah, so I'm done. I mean, this movie, despite all of the shit that the trailer got, even though Tyler and I really enjoyed that first trailer, it's a lot better than I expected because of the so much hate. I figured that everyone that hated the trailer was just going to write this movie off. And the fact that it's doing 74%, I was actually pretty surprised by it. It's doing a lot better. And I think I'm going to kind of spoil how I feel about the movie, but I think it's well-deserved.
I don't know. We'll get into it more when we get into how we rate it and how we feel about it. But this movie, like you said, 74% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I was prepping earlier today.
On IMDb, it has a 4.7 out of 10.
Really?
And I guarantee that, like, going into it yesterday, its release date, it had like a 4.2. So just bitter people about
From
this
that
movie
trailer,
just rated it as soon as they could. And half of those ratings are probably not from people that have even seen the movie. And that,
for sure.
That really upsets me and disgusts me because it's an uneducated opinion just stemming from hate.
Yeah.
And that's a bit disappointing. This movie is not a 4.7.
And we've talked about this before, a lot of that. Whether or not people are going to honestly admit it, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the original was for guys and now the reboot is for women, and they don't like it because of that. And I mean, whether or not they're willing to admit it out loud, that's the reason.
It is. And whether it's subconscious or, like you said, these people just don't want to make that admittance, it's 100%. Like, people, sure. I've seen a lot of people saying like, "Oh, this is my childhood. You're fucking with my childhood," and that's
the
BS.
sequel is not even that good.
It's BS.
Like, I feel like people forget. I mean, granted, and I have this in my notes for Ghostbusters, like the broad strokes part of our review. So I guess we can just go ahead and get right into it. My first note is fuck all the people that hated this movie because it's not a great movie. But Ghostbusters is one of the funniest movies. The original is one of the funniest movies ever made. But the sequel is not that good. The sequel is mediocre at best. And I feel like people are forgetting about that. That they've already kind of tarnished the legacy of the first one by making a second one.
Yeah.
And I think this reboot is kind of fun. It's funny. The only problem that I have with it, well, I have a couple of problems with it, and we'll get into the story, which is my main problem. But one thing that I will say about it is I laughed a lot in this movie, but I would say the joke density is great. There's a ton of jokes, but like the hit ratio is not great. Like, I would just say, I mean, obviously I didn't count or anything during the movie, but I would say that I laughed out loud probably 15 times during this movie. But there's probably 100 jokes in the movie. So I laughed a lot, but I didn't laugh. Like, the percentage of the jokes that were in this movie, it was just like a fucking machine gun, man. And they were just spraying it all over the place, which exactly describes my sex life. But gross.
I didn't need to see that. In my mind.
But anyways, I'm glad you clarified that it was in your mind. Anyways, I just felt like they tried a little too hard. I did appreciate kind of the YouTube thing, And I wouldn't be surprised when they were reading the comments if those weren't like real comments about when they released the press release or whatever for this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't the comments on YouTube that they were reading weren't actual real reactions that people had like on Twitter or YouTube or whatever. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to differ a little bit here. I enjoyed this movie and I thought it was fun, but I probably laughed 1 to 2 times.
Really?
I
laughed at least 3 times before the first scene was over.
Really?
I thought the tour guide, the guy, he plays, who does he play in The Office?
Jared. Well, I know him as Jared from Silicon Valley.
Okay. Yeah, he's also in Veep as well.
Is he?
So he's hilarious. And I thought that was really funny. I laughed a couple of times just in that scene.
I'm not saying I didn't smile at parts. Like I enjoyed seeing him for sure. I think that he's underrated as a comedic actor. But man, the jokes did not hit for me. Not at all. So that being said, like I didn't find it funny, but I thought it was fun. And I thought that it was kind of cool to see a movie set in the Ghostbusters universe or that type of story done with the technology we have today. I thought that a lot of the effects were cool. I appreciated some of the practical effects they used. The paranormal in this film was great. I would by no means say this movie's scary, but there were some parts that, it felt like a real ghost. Like it felt like the ghosts you would see in a scary movie possibly, but instead of it being a horror film, is quote unquote comedy.
Yeah, even though you didn't think it was funny.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to do the quotes. Nobody can see you but me.
But yeah, I don't know. I appreciate what they tried to do with this movie, and I understand why Sony made it. And you don't let a franchise like Ghostbusters just die with the cast, as hard as it is to say that.
Too soon.
Yeah, but I think that with this movie, they missed some opportunities. And then, like I said, there were definitely some comedy story issues with it as well.
Yeah, I think the story for sure was the weakest part of this movie.
So are we moving on to story then?
Yeah. Well, sweet. I mean, I did broad strokes. You did broad strokes. Yep. Now we move on to the story. I didn't have one of your seamless transitions.
I think you need to put a graph up for me somewhere in this room so I can follow.
Okay. You always ask me when we're prepping, like, which ones are we going to... We talk about the same fucking shit every review.
Story, performances, and then the last one is like a crapshoot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't talk about action in a comedy. So, we are going to talk about action in this particular one.
I was like,
but like,
I prepped
like
for
animation.
action.
Like if we were just watching like Finding Dory, there wasn't action in Finding Dory, so we couldn't. Fuck you. Anyways, so the story was the weakest part of this film. I did like how they did callbacks. I thought the callbacks were seamless. I thought the cameos by the original cast were cool. The Dan Aykroyd one was a little bit forced, but I liked the fact that they got the original cast in it. I liked how it started off with the tour guide. Like I said, I thought that bit was funny. I also liked how it kind of started off a little bit scary because they have the first one starts off with the library scene. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. That it was an homage to that scene, but obviously they didn't rip it off. I mean, it's a completely different scene. So I kind of liked how it started off that way. But the original, to its credit, had this really cool, weird mythology behind it. Yeah. And this movie didn't have any of that. Like the villain was super weak, and the villain's motivations were really weak. That part of it was really just very disappointing. Yeah, I definitely agree there. I think that personally they missed an opportunity with this movie by not having it set in the same universe as the original. Like I know that Bill Murray wouldn't have been involved and it would have not felt like the entire cast was there, but I think that, I don't know, it's just a missed opportunity to me. I don't think that you needed to completely reboot it. I think that you could have done a continuation in that universe without those original characters in it. Like, hey, we pass the Ghostbusters down to new Ghostbusters and their girls and get over it. And I think that would have made, I don't know. I didn't like watching a Ghostbusters movie and the original cast showing up not being who they were. And I'm trying not to sound like the people on the internet right now. Yeah. But it was hard I don't want to compare this movie to the original. I don't think you can. I mean, obviously it's hard. It's hard not to. But at the same time, like, it doesn't even sniff at the original. Yeah,
that's the thing is by putting the cameos in it to me, like I immediately thought like, oh, Bill Murray. I want Bill Murray to be Venkman.
Yeah.
So, and then I don't know. That's just I think they missed an opportunity with that, and I kind of obviously they tried to make Ghostbusters 3 for so long, and Bill Murray never did it, and Harold Ramis died, and it just couldn't happen. But I still think you could have kind of connected the universe in some way, and I would have not felt a missing piece there when I watched this movie. That being said, that's not really a story complaint. That's just something I wish they would have done. It's definitely long for quote unquote comedy. I didn't do the finger quotes there, but it never really dragged for me. I will give it that. There were some fun parts. I agree the antagonist was very weak, but I appreciate that they did an original antagonist. They didn't do Zool the first time around, or
I was kind of waiting for somebody else to show up, and that person never showed up.
I figured that when we meet the guy who's doing everything, he's working for somebody.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I thought.
A minion. And it wasn't, and that did seem a little weird. Like you said, the tour and the horror element to it, I really liked that. Like I mentioned in my broad strokes, the ghosts were definitely looked kind of scary. I remember when I first watched Ghostbusters as a kid, the library ghost kind of fucked with me a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. Some of the ghosts in this movie might fuck with kids a little bit. So the only other thing I would say is, I know when you watch a movie like this, you kind of have to put aside your thoughts as far as movie science goes, but
dude, they use what I call comic book science a lot in this movie. Like they use science sounding words a lot in this movie.
I think in this movie, like we already are familiar with Ghostbusters, we're familiar with like the stuff you're using. You don't have to shove the science part of it down our throat.
I don't care.
And they kind of did a little bit. Like
they wasted way too much time.
One or two lines about why this thing is what it is and why it works, and we're good to go.
Like I don't even need that.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know Ghostbusters? Like at this point, like I don't think you need to explain any of that stuff. Like I honestly, we all know it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So why do you have to waste time in a movie? I feel like the only time that they weren't telling jokes were when they were trying to explain the science stuff. And the science stuff obviously doesn't work.
Yeah.
So why even try to like ground this movie? It's a movie about fucking ghosts.
Yeah.
You're not trying to Batman Begins it.
Like, I miss that part of this movie where they fuck the ghosts.
It's a stinger at the end.
I knew I should have stayed.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. That's all I have for story.
All right, so performances. I know a lot of people bitched about Leslie Jones. I mentioned after the trailer that, of course, she plays a pretty one-note character in SNL. Like, she's brought on, she's the angry black lady in SNL. That's the character that she plays. And that's kind of the character that she plays in this movie. But don't knock somebody because they're good at playing that. Like, yeah, she's a one-note character, but she's really fucking good at that one note. I thought she was really funny in this movie.
If people want to say that, like, let's be honest, Seth Rogen's a little one note.
Yeah, but he's really good at that note.
He's great at it, and people love his movies and love his comedy style. So you can't really knock somebody like Leslie Jones because she's not a white guy,
Yeah, well, that's probably the reason.
Yeah, and again,
if we're being honest, she's not white and she's not a man. So. Yeah. I mean, not to get on my soapbox or anything.
Yeah.
But I thought she was great. I thought she was used well. Like she's part of the group, but she's not like a main character. If she was asked to do that character and carry a movie, I don't think that it works. But because she's kind of a side character, I think that character really works well. Kate McKinnon, that character, I think she played it well. I have no problem with her performance per se. I just don't like the character. I thought she was too weird. Like, I just don't like the way they wrote that character.
I liked her character.
I thought she did well. I just didn't think her character... Like, I think it was a little over the top.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of charming.
Really?
I like Kate McKinnon.
I mean, I like her on SNL. I think she's funny.
Yeah.
But I just didn't particularly like that character. Like, that character is too fucking weird. Like, I don't know. I guess, again, I should use my own advice. Like, it's a movie about fucking ghosts. So a person that would build all these machines to catch ghosts would obviously be pretty weird. But I don't know. It was just a little too over the top. Like, again, this movie tried really, really fucking hard to be funny. And I just don't think it landed all that often.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody in this movie turned in a poor performance.
No.
I had actually Kate McKinnon and Chris Hemsworth as definitely being the standouts.
Oh yeah, Chris Hemsworth was great.
So
I thought his character was really, really funny.
Yeah, he did great. Who knew he had comedic chops like that? But I don't know. Kate McKinnon, I thought was just charming as that character. She's the weird oddball, but I think that she played it like surprisingly well. Yeah, I mean that's all I really have. I mentioned it earlier. I don't think the cameos were very fulfilling. Their performances or whatever. I could have done without them, except for maybe Ernie Hudson. Like he was the only.
I liked his cameo a lot.
I think honestly he was probably my favorite cameo because it actually has it tied into the story in some way.
Yeah.
I guess you could kind of argue Bill Murray's cameo did as well, but
Dan Aykroyd's was forced.
And I think honestly you could have done it without Bill Murray too. Like that was kind of
I like that one.
Yeah, I mean I don't have anything against it. I just think Ernie, like you keep hearing I'm going to spoil it. You keep hearing Leslie Jones's character talk about her uncle, and then her uncle's Ernie Hudson, like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So
yeah, I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. I liked Melissa McCarthy only because I was so tired for so long of just seeing her as a fat person falling down and people thinking that's funny.
I mean, there is one scene that's a little like that.
Yeah, but it's also almost a 2-hour movie, and you only have like a 3-minute scene where it's like that. So
yeah.
I appreciate it. It was a lot similar to her in Spy. Like you have a little bit of that in Spy, but really it's not about her being fat and falling down, which is a lot of what Heat. Did you ever see Heat?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that movie's fucking garbage.
I didn't mind Heat. It's not great, but I'm
not a fan.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thought she was all right. I just appreciate that her character wasn't her being fat and falling down.
Yeah, I think that in a movie, and I'm going to tread lightly, a movie that's female driven, and you kind of find this in stand-up comedy with females, is the way that they think that people are going to find women funny or by doing like, oh, girls fart too and girls poop and we have sex too and we like sex. And there's none of that in this, which I really appreciate. Like, I'm not a big fan of Amy Schumer because I kind of think that that's her brand of comedy. Like, hey, I like sex and I eat food and hee hee ha ha, I'm a person. And I don't think that that's funny. And I'm glad that this movie did not really have those jokes.
For sure. And I also completely agree with that about stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
For sure.
I've met a lot of, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, but doing open mics and stuff, I've met a lot of really good women that are stand-up comedians, and they just write good jokes. And it's not about, oh, look at me, I'm a girl and I fart and I pee and I poop. And like, it's not any of that. They just make real solid jokes.
Yeah.
So I think it can be done. So I don't know why I went on that little tangent that was not relevant to Ghostbusters at all. But yeah, I completely agree. I that was a breath of fresh air for sure. All right. So the last little bit that we're going to talk about is the action. Of course, I mentioned a little bit earlier. I thought that the third act was really over the top. Yeah, I did not like that little thing with Kate McKinnon. That weird little.
You didn't like that?
No, not at all.
I thought that I like the character more than you did. I was really happy that she kind of got a cool little fight montage and there was like the Ghostbusters theme going on and it was slow-mo. I really liked that part.
No, not so much. I just felt like, I mean, the CGI and everything, that was cool. Like to see these characters and kind of something that I grew up loving. I loved the original, and the special effects in the original, of course, it doesn't even compare to this. So it was kind of cool to see that universe have like really updated special effects. So that was cool. I just felt like what's happening in the movie, it's like, okay, you captured or dispatched 10 ghosts. Yeah. There's still hundreds and thousands all around. It just seemed really weird and unnecessary.
Yeah, I thought that the end sequence, like the third act, was a lot of fun. Like seeing the ghosts everywhere and the different types of ghosts. That was cool. I just didn't like that action scene. The only thing that didn't hit for me was the final form that the antagonist takes.
Yeah, I feel like they tried really hard to get as close as possible to Stay Puft.
I mean, yeah, it was like, and obviously it's in the marketing. Stay Puft Marshmallow does pop up a moment, but the final form that Roland takes was, I don't know, too far-fetched for me, which sounds silly saying it because, like you said, it's a movie about fucking ghosts.
Yeah.
There was not enough ghost fucking.
Now, this is going to seem weird after you just made that joke about fucking ghosts, but wouldn't it have been funny if it had been the logo with the big boobs? Wouldn't that have been more funny?
I feel like that would have maybe been like, there would have been a feminist outcry.
Probably, but I think that would have been funny because it's a callback from earlier in the movie. Because, I mean, well, I guess their logo in it technically is in the movie. So I guess because it just felt like at the time when I was watching it before I thought about it just now, but it seemed like it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
The form that he takes because it doesn't really fit with the movie. But then I forgot that they had made their logo that same Ghostbusters logo. So
yeah.
I just thought the boobs thing would be funny. Anyways, so I mean that's pretty much all I have about Ghostbusters.
I just have one more thing I want to say really quick. Fuck the Fall Out Boy song, the Ghostbusters theme redo.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
I think that they put it out like 2 weeks ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if they panicked when people said how much they hated it and cut it down to almost nothing in the movie. It's a very minor part where it's played, but Fall Out Boy and Missy Elliott collaborated on a new Ghostbusters theme, and it's hot
didn't
garbage.
Even know that happened.
Yeah, it was in there, but hopefully other audience members miss it as well because it is bad.
So star rating?
3.
Okay, I liked it a little bit more. Obviously, I thought it was a little bit funnier than you did, even though the hit ratio wasn't great. I laughed a lot more than you did, so I'm going to give it a 3.5.
I would hope they make a sequel.
I think they will.
They kind of hint things in the stinger, and I would hope that they go that route now that they kind of got going with it.
Yeah, and they've kind of, I think the worst is behind them as far as the backlash, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so that is our review of the Ghostbusters. We end each episode by kind of capping it off with a very nerdy question. We take turns asking each other what your favorite blank is. It is Tyler's week, so what's nerd favorite this week?
So obviously we just talked about a movie driven very much by female talent. So I want to know who your favorite heroine is.
Okay.
From film, TV, whatever.
Black Tar.
Black Tar? What is that?
It was a joke. Sorry.
Oh,
heroine.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
I'm
going to cut that out. I think it was a funny joke.
It was. I'm sorry.
You being awkward ruined it for me.
It went over my head. I'm sorry. In retrospect, it was a good joke. I'll go first, and I have a feeling I'll probably end up stealing what yours would be because to me, it's the obvious answer. It has to be Ripley.
Okay. Not my obvious answer.
Really? Okay. So
that's a good answer, but Ripley, I think you're missing one.
Maybe I probably am. Ripley from the Alien franchise, obviously, played by Sigourney Weaver. I mean, that entire franchise.
Who's also in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, she is. And she does make a cameo.
Yeah, she does. Not a very good one.
No, not at all. Definitely probably more shoehorned in than Dan Aykroyd at that point.
Oh, yeah, that was... I had forgotten about her cameo. Yeah. Worst cameo in the movie.
For sure. But anyways, that whole franchise was built on her character up until Prometheus, which actually, kind of divulged from that main storyline. But just such a strong character, and it was done in a time where it would have been easy to make it like Bruce Willis or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sly Stallone.
For sure.
And instead, they went that route with Alien and made it about Sigourney Weaver playing Ripley. And, she carries it through 4 movies. Some are better than others, but just a very, very strong female character. One of the probably most influential female characters to other sci-fi movies for sure. In my opinion. So I definitely have to go with Ripley.
Okay. Well, when you first posed this question, I thought immediately the first person that popped in my head was Princess Leia.
I toyed with that. To me, still the hero of that story is Luke. So
yeah, but I like characters. And this is one of the gripes I had with the X-Files. If you read my X-Files reviews, I'm not talking about you personally, Tyler, because I know you didn't read my X-Files reviews. But our listeners was the fact that Scully had to be saved a lot. I like the fact that Princess Leia didn't have to be saved.
That's a great point.
I mean, of course, Han and Luke come to save her, but they do a terrible job at it.
Yeah.
And she kind of saves herself in that particular scenario. And I mean, she's the leader of the rebellion.
Yep.
So I just like in a time where there wasn't a lot of strong female characters, there's a really cool strong female character.
Yeah, I love that movies like that, especially older movies that kind of set the standard for it, didn't have the damsel in distress.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is great.
Yeah, so I mean, when you said I'm going to take the obvious answer, I assume that you took Princess Leia.
No, I definitely toyed with that, but I picked Ripley because that is completely Ripley's franchise, and Leia shares the hero spotlight with Luke and Han. So that's the only reason. I'm not dissing your pick. She's a great heroine.
Yeah.
I just feel like the Alien franchise is Ripley's.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think Katniss would even be in the conversation?
Not for me, because those movies turned to hot garbage.
Yeah, I mean, after Catching Fire, like I really enjoyed Hunger Games and Catching Fire.
I guess I appreciate Katniss as a character. I shouldn't let the way that those movies ended impact my thoughts on her as a character, because her character never wavered through those movies.
Yeah.
She was a strong heroine. The thought never crossed my mind, though, because of the Mockingjay movies.
Yeah, those are garbage.
Yeah,
that really ruined the franchise for me. Like I don't even feel good about being like I legitimately find myself like a fan of that franchise. I've read all the books. I enjoyed the first two books. I didn't really enjoy Mockingjay because it hits that love triangle that I didn't really like in the previous two books. I just really like the concept of like the dystopian Hunger Games type of concept. I really enjoy that type of stuff. And the fact that they split that book into two movies, and the first movie is really bad, and the second movie it rebounds slightly, but it really ruined that franchise for me, those last two movies.
Oh, for sure.
All right. So that is the end of episode 103, right?
Yeah.
I think 103. As always, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's both at The Nerds Podcast. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Google+. Vote for us for Podcast of the Month at podcastland.com. Comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where I'm currently doing twice a week Let's Plays for TMNT Mutants in Manhattan. Also, check out our Twitch channel, which Tyler does a weekly stream of Monday at 9 p.m. Central Time. You can also rate, review us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, basically any good podcatcher you use. You could also email us at thenerdyourlooking4@gmail.com. You can check out my stand-up. Like I said earlier, I have a show at the Boca Lounge on July 28th. I also have a show at Shorty's on Green River Road, the new location here in Evansville, on August 22nd. So I'll put all the details on our Facebook page leading up to those shows. For Patrick Kuhn,
Tyler Hunt.
we are the Nerds You're Looking For. Take it easy, guys.
See you guys later.